PAWSA is doing amazing right now. He's found this combination of pop and underground and brought it together in a very simple but effective way. And in today's video, I just want to talk about some fun things I've learned in studying him and studying a lot of the Solid Grooves artists, North of Neptune artists, Coco artists, in order to craft a pack deemed worthy of solid grooves for you guys. So in this particular remake I have here, I did this one for the pack demo just to let people know what's up. And it sounds like this. Okay, so why don't we talk about the sound designs of this real quick. The first lead here, very dope lead, very dope. Okay, and we're using Serum for this. All these pieces are going to be available in that pack. And it's an analog-based sound, so instantly I'm going for that Juno wavetable, which gives me access to a square, saws, and I believe there's like a tri-saw in there. But the beginning of the sound is a square. Okay, let's get rid of some of the effects. We'll bring them back in a sec. Sounds kind of like this. Right? Nothing close to what we want. But this is where the sound design journey will start in this kind of stuff, because filters give a lot of character to a sound. This is what many people fail to understand. Sometimes you'll go into a studio and you'll see producers with a shit ton of synths, or sound designers with like 5 different, well, I have at least 8 in here, different keyboards. But the reason for that is that each synth has a distinct kit. For instance, the Moog Matriarch has a certain filter that the Moog Sub 37 doesn't, right? But the Sub 37 has a filter that leans itself more to sound more aggressive. This one sounds a little bit more smoother. And then I have a Jupiter-esque inspired synth down here, which has a different filter that I wouldn't even use to make stuff like this, right? But that's the beautiful thing about it. And you'll see why I bring it up in a sec, okay? But we're using a low 18 MG low. I'm assuming MG stands for Moog. But again, it might not, but I always go that way and I always pick it over the non-MG one. But if we have extra flavor, why not? From there, we use a saw to layer with this. Okay, and you can see it sounds fucking, what the hell's going on? But from there, we're going to add a bit of detunement to the saw to get it to sound wide. With it off, with it on. Okay, from there, we are using envelope, which we'll call a modulator. Modulators move stuff for us, move knobs for us in the synth, because I don't want to be doing this constantly or automate that. That would be horrible. So use that. And from here, we can get that. So if you're trying to do an exact recreation, you're going to be very anal about where you position this modulation amount, right? From there, this is where the magic starts to happen. We do want to use an EQ to cut out the lows, and this allows the higher frequencies of the sound to pop out. And from there, we use distortion. I like to use the tape saturated for anything analog based. But from there, I use the pre-filter to filter out some of the low end. And that allows you to push the sound harder, because now the distortion is not looking at just the low frequency. It's only looking at the mids, and that allows it to distort heavier, because usually low end will distort a lot faster than mid and high frequencies, okay? From there, an EQ. From there, a reverb, or no reverb, delay, which adds that nice effect. Compression. I don't know if we added a phaser. No phaser, that's too weak. And then there's a comb for a mod. For, yes, freaky shit, right? But now we get the sound. Now, the filtered thing is very important, right? Because if I wasn't making a sound bank for you guys, right? I use Serum a lot because it has everything I need to make every single sound I can possibly think of. But it doesn't mean it's the most effective way to make that sound. The kit, the way it's set up, it's too free. Too much, you know, like you have to know all of this stuff. However, when you use synths that are analog based, for instance, if we go with the Mini V from Arturia, which is a Moog Model D recreation, Moog Model D is an amazing synth. We haven't seen anything else like it. Very iconic sounds were made with it. I recommend that you guys watch a video on it, Famous Sounds Model, Moog Model D, and just like see what it can do. I find it a lot of fun, especially as a producer. I tell most of my students, I'm like, you guys need to treat your life like you're a fucking producer. So when you have free time, instead of watching random shit, watch videos on synths Watch videos on things that are going to help you just get a better idea of what is out there for you to use in your own music. And this synth is very iconic. So we're going to follow the same formula of a saw and a square. Okay. We're going to put this down here. Okay. I know that this guy, it's very sensitive. Right. From there, we have this. And now we have the saw there on. Okay, let's turn this off. We're going to pull this back. And then we use the amount of contour. That's just the envelope, the modulator that we were talking about. There's velocity sensitivity here, so I'm going to put that down for now. Okay, and then there we go. Okay, now this is where it kind of like Serum has the advantage because you have access to all these effects, right? In this one, you do as well. But in the real world, if you had the Model D, you wouldn't. So now we go advanced. I'm going to go effects, and we're going to use these guys here. This one, we're going to use a filter, and we're going to put a high-pass filter, which cuts the lows from the left to the right. Okay, the dry and wet all the way up. And then we're going to add a chorus to get the same detunement effect we got with the Serum patch. And there we go, right? I'm going to use a Juno chorus, though. And now the crazy thing here about this Model D is that it has this release button here that we can click. And this makes it so that this decay has a release feature in it, and it makes the sound linger more. We're going to lower down the sustain. If I put it really high, the sound lingers. So this is where this iconic sound probably gets that nice delay or that release in the original track. Play with it. And now we're just moving. Okay, make sure everything's minus 32, minus 32. We got the saw, we got the square. And we get something around the ballpark. So what does this mean for you, right? As a producer? Well, it's up to you to kind of understand, okay, the PAWSA sound is just very analog-y on most of his sounds. He has some digital sounds, which we'll talk about. But again, that iconic stab in that track is just insane. And you can get it that way. From there, the bass that he uses, well, not exact. Usually saws or squares is what you're going to be going for. The reason for that is that anytime you start to make your basses like, you know, weird waveforms like this one, right? You lose a lot of power. The saw usually sounds a lot more like a bass guitar, while the square is a lot grittier and it sounds fatter. However, here you can go with either. Now, PAWSA has a very saturated sound. What that means is lots and lots of saturation. So one of the techniques that I use here that I learned from a YouTuber named Streaky, who does mastering videos and mixing videos, was parallel saturation or distortion to get the bass to sound beefier and more in front for phone speakers, right? So this technique is super dope, and you don't need Serum to do it. Understand the concept, and you will be able to program it in any DAW out there. What you really need is just saturation at 50%. And let's get rid of that. Okay, and then we use a pre-filter, which removes, again, that low end out of the equation, which allows us to push the mids a lot more. And you can see that that just sounds so much beefier to you. And if you're on a phone, you can hear that, and it just makes itself known. I've prided myself in making sure that all my presets use top of the line modern mixing techniques so that you as a producer sound better by using the stuff that I provide for you. It's one of the things that I'm very proud of every time I make a sound bank, and it's one of the hardest things I've had to implement because it requires a lot of learning on my part, keeping up to date with mixing techniques in order to be able to use Serum to program that for you. And that's one of the reasons why I love Serum so much as my main sound design tool, and I don't like really moving around a lot. It's because Serum allows us to do stuff like this. If you know all these techniques, and you know all of this, you can program weapons for people so that when producers come, right, from their daily hustle, bustle, you have your job, you come home to produce, you're already 80% of the way there when you use the right patches, the right sounds. That's my goal, is to make sure that my stuff will always be that avenue for you to go, I trust these sounds, that they're not going to make me sound like shit. Now, again, I'm just stating that because it's very important for the PAWSA sound. The PAWSA sound is a very heavily processed, very well-made sound. I mean, if you've seen the guy's studio, he knows a bit of mixing, man. Motherfucker has like some good shit in that studio that I've seen. I'm just like, okay, there you go. Okay, cool. So the bass, again, just very simple. Sustain down, square wave. You don't even need this guy. This is more for the mods that I apply for you guys, just for you guys to get more bang for buck, because I respect you. I know you work hard for your money, and I want to make sure every patch I can put as much as I can in it for you to get most bang for buck. From there, okay, the more important thing was that the compressor, right? Compression is a thing that it will twirl many people, and the thing with it is usually people will say have the attack here to allow the initial part of the bass to come through, and then you compress the rest, making the bass a lot punchier. But for some reason, I lowered the attack all the way down on this guy to control. But it seems like I have this mix low, which means it's just there to be a parallel compressor. Again, parallel compression allows you to still have the original bass, but then you add this other super compressed version of it that you slowly layer with it to get all the juice out of it. Okay, so there we go. So now we got that. So I would always say, you know, squares and saws make the world go round in the world of bass, okay? And also science, but science, we don't really need it for this one. This is another video in the making, and I made some reels on Instagram for you guys on Solid Groove stuff with the sign, because that is a weapon as well. Okay, the other thing that's very interesting for me with PAWSA is PAWSA programs his own beats. There is no way in hell the guy's using loops because of the way that he programs this. So if we hear this part of the song, following 909 theory or 707 theory. Now what that means is this. When we go to the 909 core kit inside of Ableton, we are presented with a kit that is meant to mimic the great 909 drum machine. I'm not rich, and so I have the Behringer version of it, but you can learn a lot from these drum machines and the way that they were set up. I believe the 909 is a Japanese invention, and God almighty, man, did they do something great for the world of dance, because the 909 drum machine comes with a kit. Now, it's not going to give you the sounds that he has, but it follows that theory, okay? And I'll show you what I mean. So if we replicate his beat, we're going to go bass drum on the beat, as many of you guys already know. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to move this tune up. We're going to lower the decay a bit. Okay. Now from there, right, he starts off with just a clap on the verse. And there we go. Just very simple. Right. He has the open. He follows the format of this. Close hat will revolve around the open hat, but it never hits with the open hat. So he'll do something like this. Let's go check it real quick. Okay, so he'll do something there. Okay, now a little bit of rhythm theory here. On the beat, that's the one, and then these little in-betweens when you're in 16th are called the ands, offbeat and. The close hat, as you start to learn to program your own drums, you'll realize it lands a lot on the ands. It can land on the beat and with the offbeat, but the reason they never touch is because close hat and the open hat take up the same frequency range, and it makes no damn sense to have them play at the same time unless you got different things going on, right? So what he does is he'll probably do something like this on the ands to add that swing. And then here again, right? Very simple. From there, again, like I said, we can control this. Okay, if you go into the Ableton thing here, we can also cut out the lows with a high pass here so that it sounds a lot thinner. I'll use a high pass there. And there we go. I'm also going to make the open hat a little tighter. And there we go. All right, no way in hell. That's why I'm hearing this shit. I'm like, PAWSA did not just drop drum loops in there. Nah, he's programming his own thing. Because when you're simple and effective like this, it just, you hear it. Now, obviously, we still need to add some swing to this beat. So we can just go groove. I don't know which version he used, and I don't really care. I just know he used swing, so that's all I care about. And that makes the drums kind of like jacking grooves and shit. But now from here, again, I don't know what the pattern is. He might be doing this. And then you can start to add variation. You know, that's the power of programming your own stuff. It's something that I teach everyone to do on my YouTube channel. You will find videos of me preaching, program your own drums. But again, I understand the other side of using drum loops to make stuff more interesting. So of course, if you have drum loops like that you can use to just amp it up, go for it. For instance, here I can say, okay, you know, maybe the clap needs a layer. So I'll use something with maybe like that snare layer he has. And then we'll play down. That one's not there. This is all sound selection. This is the way it looks. A very, very simple pattern. If I had to talk about this pattern, right? Let's change our thing to F minor. There's really nothing too formulaic about it. I mean, obviously we're hitting here on the 16s. There is going to be some swing that needs to be added. Maybe that's a little too much, so let's lower down the timing here. Okay, so the main thing I see here is this section here. There's a big variation that occurs, right? Instead of going down with the bass, we go up. So these two notes stay the same. You switch that last note, you get variation in there. A lot of 16s in the beginning, and then we go to 1/8 towards the end. 1/8, boom, boom, boom. So the way that you should probably look at this for me personally is if I wanted to get something out of this, I'm like, okay, cool. So 16s and then slow it down and have variation, right? So if we made our own version and some of these patches are velocity based, we're going to lower. Maybe I'm not going to do that. We're going to go like this. And let's do, I'm going to go here. And then from there, we're going to go 1/8. And then I'm just going to grab, go up to C. Give it there. Right, so we got that now. And let's lower the velocities down. Some of the patches will have this, so just be on the lookout for that when you're using them. And we'll do this here. And I can do the same thing with a different note. And there we go. And then just to not sound like him, use a square. And we move that here. And now we can have the same sound. But now we switch that to something else. Right? Because this melody is just going down. Doon, doon, doon. Boom, 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 boom. So now I can do. Right up. Oh shit! There we go. He uses his sound. It almost sounds like either a guitar or a clap. So this is where it's gonna be probably like an actual muted clap. Maybe you guys know, and you can let me know in the comments. So if I had to approach that sound, which I don't think I did remake it for this pack, then we can also try going for what I would say FM to get something similar, or a wavetable. And that's the beautiful thing about wavetable synths, is that wavetable synths allow you to have different textures at the expense of body and fatness, but you have more colors to pick from. Cut all the lows out. We have the swing. I know this isn't the exact melody, but it's around the ballpark so that you guys can see what we're doing. And it gives a similar tone. I don't know what the sound is. Maybe it's an iconic sound. It could be a guitar. You guys can let me know in the comments. But from there, I feel like if I had to do it right, then we'll go there. Use a filter. Also the highs, right? Like he has them somewhat muted. Let's add like a very low size reverb, low decay. And from there, you know, we can kind of go through the... Yeah. And this is a cool thing about wavetable synths. Again, you can see all the access to all the different like tones that we have, right? It allows for like this. It's his ability to just have a good ear for the sampling, the usage of the phone. Right, that sound. So that's the last sound we're going to talk about. It almost sounds like a saw that has been just filtered with vibrato on it. So to add vibrato to a sound, you would add an LFO to the fine. Choose a low 24. There we go. Let's use the envelope to get it less blobby. Oh, yeah. In analog synths too, we have what's known as a sub-oscillator, so we could probably use the sub-oscillator to beef this up. Usually the sub-oscillator will be a square that's at least an octave underneath the top sound. And then we can apply this here as well. Cut out the lows, like so. And add some pre again, high pass. And again, more vibrato if needed. You can also add it to the filter. Here we go. And then from there, we can add the velocity to the filter too. So you open it. Best on how hard you're hitting the note. But there we go. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. There's a lot of information here that I hope will inspire or at least be some revelations to many of you guys so that you can continue pursuing your music. Life gets tough and I'm just trying my best to make it easier for you guys to get home and make some fat beats, maybe use some of these sounds. Now, I do have a pack coming out at the end of this week named Solid, inspired by PAWSA, Michael Beebe, Dennis Cruz, a lot of the Solid Grooves artists like Sidney Charleston, a lot of sounds from him in there, inspired by him. We got North of Neptune. We got Coco stuff. Again, very underground tech house. There's a bit of pop, but it's mainly going to be underground inspired, as you'll see in the coming videos that we're going to have. I'm going to be showing you guys some really cool stuff that I learned to make these tools for you guys to make the best minimal tech that you have ever made. With that being said, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and make sure to leave a comment if you have any questions. With that being said, you guys take care and you guys have a great rest of your day.